Look, we've spoken a bit about population, Australia's population, but look, here's the question. The government, if they gave you $4,100, would you have another child?
I'd have as many as they want.
So good.
You wouldn't even see me here. I would just be
having children.
Yep, absolutely.
How many do you reckon you could, like...
I'm a Catholic. We're talking,
Four in a year, that's right. Caroline, would you have another one? Was $4,100 enough?
No, that wouldn't entice me.
Sophie?
But isn't the whole issue with this, Ross, that these bonuses... We heard all those horror stories years ago. People off buying televisions and...
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Right. You want people to buy televisions.
Paul,
clearly, Ross, as a finance man, he's always focused on stimulus.
Yeah,
okay?
No, that's right, exactly.
Now, he's decided to go a different way to the same topic.
Okay, so the $4,100, I've got to tell you, that's the Hong Kong government's plan. But there's a few interesting things here. Remember, it's a throwback to the Treasurer, Peter Costello, and his plan, one for the country, one for mum, one for dad, and one for Australia. Hong Kong paying $2,500 US. Here he is, classic. Peter Costello, when he was the Treasurer, trying to get our population going. Well, we're not the only country, and it was not the only one. Singapore pays $13,000 for your first or second child. You'd make a fortune.
Move back.
I know, I made a big mistake.
Okay, here,
though, I got a little bag from the New South Wales government with like a change mat. And
that's right. Did you get a jacaranda as well? Remember they used to give out jacarandas to new mothers? That was lovely. That's why there's so many jacarandas in Sydney. Did you not know this? Anyway, so...
I don't know that it's a role for government. I think that, again, it's society, right? Like society again has been built into this scenario where work-life balance, get back to work, all the rest of it, right? The pressure on women to be working women and mums, right? Let alone to have that period of time extended, to have the third child, right? I think that's a huge issue again culturally for us here. The birth rate currently looking as good as it does is because of, to be honest, certain populations that go, you know what?
That's right.
You are going to stay at home. Your role in the family is to be that person.
Okay, and
it's not all the sort of teal mums.
The most effective form of contraception is to be rich and white.
Correct.
Wealthy white Western countries have a declining birth rate.
Or climate change anxiety.
And everywhere else around the world has a much, much, much higher birth rate.
Correct.
And so if you actually want, people are worried about population control. The idea is you make everyone wealthier and richer and more educated, and they'll stop having babies, or at least with me.
So, so the interesting thing also about this is housing. If you think about that, right now there is the greatest proportion ever that Australians seen of two-income households. You need two incomes to afford a house, Melbourne and Sydney. So guess what? You have a child 100%. In this country, the pressure is to get back, or the other pressure is don't have the child. If you're going to succeed, and the problem is for female leaders, maybe you don't have as many children. You don't have
and
three
Ross,
or four.
that's also why you see people living with families in apartments, especially in Sydney and Melbourne. They cannot afford homes. The prices are just so unrealistic. So they're living in these confined spaces, no backyard, no hills hoist out the back. They can't afford it.
Okay, so then the question is bribing people to have children, is that really enough? Hong Kong's... Now, the odd thing about Hong Kong, I find, is two things. Number one, it's part of China, which had a one-child policy for all that time. Now they're paying people to have kids, which seems, again, a bit nuts. So I find all this...
Did it work when Costello did it? Did it actually change the birth rate?
I don't think it did, and I think...
I think everyone remembers the policy, but did it work?
I'm just going off the top of my head, but I don't think it did.
I don't think it did either.
Because the people who you're trying to get to have more babies are the wealthy ones who don't need the money,
100%.
whereas people on lower incomes for whom that would be a lot of money and perhaps an incentive, and obviously proportionally more the less you have, they were the ones who were doing it. So we don't have the right...
Do you know something? We've got the right policies in this country to have more children, and that is because once we have blackouts, when all the electricity goes out, the population rate will go up. There's nothing sure about that. Anyway,
yes, Chris Bowen is playing 4D chess.
Okay. We've got to get back to having babies the old-fashioned way because of boredom.